It's official. LeBron James is leaving the Miami Heat to go back home to play for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And this really says a lot about LeBron James and his character. How much he's grown as a player and a man. To be able to put that behind him. Dan Gilbert, the owner, that letter that he wrote, that was a new move, the way that Dan Gilbert was talking to LeBron James. But LeBron realized that he made mistakes in his life too. So to be able to put that behind him, to forgive Dan Gilbert, forgive the fans for burning his jersey, and really to realize that the fans are forgiving him for leaving the way he did with the decision special, to just make amends, come back and try to finish up unfinished business. This is a huge move legacy-wise for LeBron James. I'm a Heat fan, but I don't feel bad that LeBron is leaving. Not at all. He did his thing. He held it down. He was unbelievably consistent. He took us to 4 straight NBA Finals. He won twice. Real Heat fans have nothing to complain about. And I'm glad that LeBron made his decision today. Because as you all know, Chris Bosh has said before that if LeBron doesn't come back, he wants to go play with Houston. Because that's his best option. He's going to make the most money, and he's still going to be in a winning situation. And the Dallas Mavericks, they offered a contract to Chandler Parsons, and he accepted that contract. So Houston has 3 days to decide if they want Chandler Parsons or Chris Bosh. And they can actually get both if they sign Chris Bosh first. But with LeBron taking his sweet little time, if he would have waited until after Sunday, after the World Cup, then that would have left Bosh in a hard place. So I'm glad that he finally came to a decision, because now the Houston Rockets, they can make the moves they need to make so that they can get Chris Bosh. Now let's talk about next season. The Cavaliers are already favored to win the championship. And Vegas, you know, all the betting spots, they're already giving the Cavs that edge right now in the betting game. And if you read LeBron's Sports Illustrated essay, you'll see that he says he's looking forward to playing with Kyrie and Dion Waiters and Tristan Thompson. But notice that he doesn't say anything about the #1 draft pick, Andrew Wiggins. And it's already been reported to the public that the Cavs were exploring options to bring in Kevin Love to join up with LeBron James. This was one of the rumors before this all was official. And it looks like that is what is going to happen. So now let's look at the Cavaliers next season and going into the future. So Kevin Love is kind of like Chris Bosh. He can score, he's a better rebounder, but defensively, Chris Bosh is better. Chris Bosh is longer. Chris Bosh is just more athletic. He blocks some shots. Kevin Love is not really going to block any shots, and he's not going to close out on pick and roll situations like Bosh. Kevin Love is definitely going to help because the Cavs, they're going to need spacing, so they need to go after a guy like that. They need a big that can shoot, and this isn't a done deal. But whether the Cavs have Kevin Love or not, I don't think the Cavaliers are as difficult for teams to match up with like the Miami Heat were. Because even though the Heat got spanked by the Spurs in the finals, they didn't really have any issues with any of the other teams. And let's say if it wasn't the Spurs that made it out of the West, the Heat probably would have beaten some of the other teams like the Clippers or the Thunder or whoever else would have made it out besides the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs played amazing basketball this year. Absolutely amazing. They destroyed everybody they played in the West. I mean, they did have that 7-game series against the Dallas Mavericks, which is really interesting. This is why next season, I mean, the Western Conference is just going to be crazy, especially if Chris Bosh goes to Houston. Now you've got another team in the mix that is seriously going to be contending for it all. But the Miami Heat, their team was just so unusual. They were playing this small ball, but they still were kind of long because they had Chris Bosh. It was really difficult for teams to match up with those 3 positions like that. But now the Cavs are more of a more conventional NBA team. They have a very talented young roster. They got Kyrie, he's a great point guard. They got a lot of other guys, good guys. They even got some veterans like Varejao. But in a playoff series, I don't think they're going to be that difficult for teams to deal with, because even when the big 3 with Dwayne Wade, when they were really playing great and those 3 guys were scoring, averaging like 70 or 80 points a game, they had a tough time defeating the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, they won that series in 5 games, but all the games were close, so it could have gone either way. And I'm talking about that year when Derrick Rose wasn't injured. And I think the Pacers would match up much better with the Cavs than they do with the Miami Big Three. And the Bulls, obviously, if Derrick Rose comes back and he doesn't get injured again and he's still playing at a high level, I see the Bulls being a real problem for LeBron, especially if Carmelo were to go there. Now, I don't think Carmelo's going to go to the Bulls. I'm pretty sure he's staying with the New York Knicks. But imagine if he did. Imagine the rivalry that him and LeBron would have in the playoffs. That would be crazy. But what if LeBron James is not able to win a championship with the Cavs? Will people still try to deny his greatness because he only won 2 in Miami with Wade and Bosh? Will people still try to compare LeBron to Michael and his story because Jordan went to the finals, he never lost once? I like that LeBron James' story is not Michael Jordan's story. It's a different story. He couldn't win at home, so he left to go to Miami. He won in Miami. Now he goes back home to try to win. And if he does win, what a story that would be. Something unique, something we've never seen before in sports. This is going to be a very interesting journey.
You were a man amongst boys out there tonight. It must feel good to have such a nice game when you're playing with so many of the league's best players. Any quick thoughts on tonight's game?
Yeah, it don't count for nothing, so don't get too worked up about it. We had a good time, no doubt, but that's pretty much the extent of it. Not much else to say, really. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Some pretty crazy plays out there, huh? Man, I hope the fans had a good time, too.
My t-shirt store is finally back with a new design. Shot clock. Jeez, it's about time. It comes in 4 colors. The link is in the description, or you can click on the screen.